We're going to talk about some superhero stuff, because that's what this show's about, right?
Oh, it is?
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest super entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name's Mike Royer.
And this week, Wonder Woman announces her second coming.
Oh, okay.
Yep. We're getting there again. We get our first look at Supreme Leader Snoke in the flesh.
Oh, and it's weird. Spoilers, it's weird.
It's very weird. I'm Pickle Rick.
Are you, Chris? Are you?
I might be in more.
Yeah, so this is post Comic-Con week. So usually this week is kind of a little lighter, you know, basically, to pardon my French here, all the studios kind of blow their loads last week, so, all their news loads, if you will. So we're just kind of like, I feel like we're kind of like picking up scraps, like, oh, what's been talked about since Comic-Con? You know, is there anything that fell behind the dresser here that we can talk about?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, are there any interviews they had at Comic-Con that people forgot to put online that has something in them, you know? And that's kind of how it felt like looking at a lot of this stuff. I'm like, okay, that was there, but, you know, they didn't release it till Tuesday, so we'll go with it.
Yeah, and then plus we're getting to that kind of area at the end of the summer where it's funny, like when I was a kid, like July and like the 4th of July, this was always like the midst of summer, you know. I always remember like just hanging out outside being like super like hot and humid, and I was like in the summer. But like now as an adult, I measure my entire summer based on superhero movies, and basically we got kind of one left, which is Kingsman, which is kind of coming at the tail end. But also we do have Defenders coming up, but you know, that's technically kind of like a TV show, a little bit streaming, and you know, as we all know, all that happens indoors. It's not like we're going outside for any of that.
Well, I guess I forgot Inhumans pops up actually before Kingsman, which it feels weird. September is like that weird month. Like we're not quite. I mean, it's not August. We are when people are listening, this is a day away from August, and then we have the 1st of September. There is Inhumans, and I've got some. I mean, it's not in our news things, but actually, there's gonna be more footage on the TV version of that later in September than actually in the theater that day.
Yeah,
they're just showing the IMAX stuff. So
yeah, and it is kind of weird because September is kind of that month where kind of fall TV shows will start to kick in. So then, you know, some kids start going back to school, and even though we're adults now and outside of all that stuff, I still feel like a lot of my life revolves around that, especially since we're so into television. So yeah, so the summer is actually kind of winding down, unfortunately, but I was just talking to my wife earlier. There's like so much stuff to look forward to towards the end of the year. Like I'm almost just kind of like, oh, like let's get like September, October out of the way. There's some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess this is the only lull in the year that we've noticed, and however, it's not even that lully. Like on Suez, Atomic Blonde came out this weekend, which was a comic book movie. I've heard good things. I've not got to see it yet, and so I chose to watch Spider-Man again last night.
Oh, good. I thought you were gonna say the Emoji Movie, maybe.
No. If Sony's gonna get my money, it's through Spider-Man, not the Emoji Movie. So I mean, if I could describe what I've heard about the Emoji Movie in one emoji, would you guess what that is, Mike?
Is it the meh emoji?
It is the poop emoji, because apparently it's shit. So I do actually know that Superfan Jim promised one of his daughters that they would go see it for some reason. You know how you have to negotiate with terrorists and kids. So I'm going to actually ask him how that was. So, but... Well, it's not been in the movie's favor, from what I've seen.
I've heard it's not the worst movie of the year. There's way worse stuff out there that has been released that you can go see, but everyone's just saying it's just kind of like falling short. It just kind of seems kind of like a ripoff of, you know, Wreck-It Ralph, and it is kind of funny. I believe T.J. Miller is kind of like the main character of the story, and he plays the the meh emoji, or maybe his parents are meh emojis. I don't really know. And everyone's just using that emoji to describe the movie. They're just like, it's just so underwhelming. There's nothing good there. I'm kind of waiting to see the box office return. Apparently, it's got a $50 million budget, double that or maybe a little bit more for the advertising budget. I'm still waiting to see how that's going to shake out financially because there's a lot riding on Sony Pictures Animation, which means that Spider-Man animated movie. So if this emoji movie doesn't do well, maybe that Spider-Man animated movie might not come out of that studio,
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the weekend box office numbers here, Sunday's not over. They've got a little bit more time, but guess just out of the top 5, it is not number 1. It is beat by a movie that's been out for a week already, Dunkirk. So then the Emoji Movie at 25 million, Girls Trip, Atomic Blonde, and then Spider-Man. So
yeah, I'm kind of curious how the Emoji Movie will do overseas. Technically, since I think the emoji was like a foreign icon keyboard to begin with, I think it came out of Japan or maybe like South Korea or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know. Maybe the Asian markets will just really pump that movie up, but we'll just have to wait and find out.
It doesn't have a foreign, like any numbers on the foreign, so maybe it's not out there for a while. So
ooh, that's not going to be good for them.
It's the poop emoji. You ruin them. They shot themselves in the foot with it by over promoting it. But that's okay. We got Patrick Stewart voicing another character later in the show, so we'll bring that up later, actually.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
But Mike, we've not talked in a couple days here. You've been busy. You've been out doing stuff. What you been up to? Like, I want people to know.
So this nerd, this inside cat went outside yesterday at a busy day to do two very interesting things. So out here in Southern California, just south of Los Angeles, there's the town of Anaheim, or city of Anaheim, I guess, that kind of has a lot of different theme parks. It's a big tourist area because obviously you have Disneyland down there. You have like Medieval Times. You have like another similar restaurant show with pirates. And there's also this place called Knott's Berry Farms, which I guess way back in the day used to be a berry farm. And then they slowly started adding like attractions, like Ferris wheels and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, just over the decades, it turned into a theme park. And then I believe once the original family died, the kids sold it to the same company that owns like Cedar Point and Kings Island, like out in the Midwest. So it's like a legit theme park. It's got like some of the Charles Schultz Peanuts characters there and everything. So we went there for a friend's birthday, and it's interesting going to theme parks and comparing them to Disneyland because, as Chris, as you know, since you went to Disney World, once you go to a Disney park, everything else just doesn't come close when it comes to the level of detail and just the effort and the engineering that goes into every like little corner and crevices of the park. So Knott's Berry Farm was cool because at least on the plus side, they have like thrill rides. They have like legit roller coasters that you can call roller coasters, whereas kind of like Disneyland parks, you kind of get, maybe you do get some thrill rides, but usually they're masked and like robots and inside and lighting tricks and props and stuff, which is, fun on its own in a different way. So it was interesting going to the Knott's Berry Farm. It does seem a little lower standard, but it was an interesting day there for sure.
Okay.
And right afterwards, my wife finally got to see Garth Brooks in concert. She was looking forward to this concert for ages, so I went along with her. And it was a strange experience because I don't really have anything against Garth Brooks, but I've never listened to really any of his music. So I felt like I was at some sort of alien like concert where all the aliens were really into something that I just had no idea what it was, and I was just surrounded by very enthusiastic people. Garth Brooks is a showman for sure. I mean, if you had any ounce of love for Garth Brooks, I'm sure you would thoroughly enjoy his concerts because he was running all over the stage. He was lighting everybody up. He was doing all the crowd tricks, getting everyone excited. He was playing like the old stuff. He kept saying he was playing the old stuff. So I guess, when you go to a concert from an artist that's been around for a long time, you just kind of want to hear the old stuff. Everyone was singing along. My wife lost her voice. She's all hoarse because she was singing the whole night. So
ironically, she's a little hoarse after a country music concert. So.
yeah. Garth Brooks made a point to tell the whole venue that like if you're not familiar with my music, we're gonna be singing a lot about cowboys tonight. So So it was a really weird experience. If you ever get a chance to go to an artist that's that big and have never heard any of their songs before, it's unique. So even though I've never heard anything, I still it was still enjoyable.
So you've probably heard of one song though. Where in his set list did he play Friends in Low Places, Mike? That is my question.
So that kind of came, I want to say, maybe about 3/4 through the concert. So I guess he kind of does this thing at his shows where he'll kind of do like one like big song at kind of towards the end, which was that song, Friends in Low Places. You know, there was all these confetti cannons and streamer cannons going off. The lights were just going crazy. Like if you were epileptic, you'd be on the floor shaking because everything was just going nuts. And then the crowd like erupts into like this fever. And then like he kind of like walks off the stage and everything. And then if you ever been to a concert before, you know it's not over. So he comes back out just with his like acoustic guitar, and then like he's like, oh, if you've ever been to a Garth Brooks concert before, this is the part of the show where you hold your signs up and request songs. So I guess a lot of people will bring little big signs with song requests, and then he'll kind of look out into the sea of people and pick those songs, and he'll just start playing them. And then that kind of winds back up into some full-fledged songs with the rest of the band, and then the show's over. So you were right to say Friends in Low Places was pretty much his, like, that was kind of like the big climax.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I grew up in southern Indiana where country music reigned strong. and I do know 90s Garth Brooks. Before he like changed his name to like his real name was Chris Gaines and then back to Garth Brooks. So I mean that's cool to know that you guys got to go do that and experience a concert. Again, for you, never hearing many of his songs probably, or at least not knowing and getting to do that. So that's cool. You had a good time with it, even if it's country music, who a lot of people look down on. So
yeah, I'll leave you with this. If you're leaving a music venue and you're trying to catch an Uber on the way home, look out for those surge pricings because our trip there was $8. Our trip back was $33. The exact same distance. So that's what happens when you have one giant venue all requesting Ubers at the exact same time.
Now,
so
do
look out for that.
Do taxis do surge pricing in LA?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's like I experienced this in Chicago at Comic Cons. When you leave a Comic Con, surge pricing, or do you grab a taxi? Because taxi ended up being cheaper a couple times. So and they were right there. So I don't know.
Well, if all of those millennial think pieces out there on the internet are to say anything, it's that I am afraid of taxis and I don't know how to use them. So I know how to open up an app, Chris. I know how to do that.
We don't want to talk to the person. We just want to ride in their car.
Yes, I want to ride in their car, and I want to rate them when I'm done on a star meter.
Yeah, that's true. Well, all right. Well, it sounds like you had a good time. You had a good weekend. I can't say, I took my mom out for her birthday coming up this week, so we went out to eat and had some fun there. So if she's listening, which I assume my mom's listening to the show, because apparently she listens. Happy birthday, Mom. I hope you had a good time.
Happy birthday, Chris's mother.
And just kind of chill. I had a lot of video game time in this weekend, so that's rare. Yeah. So but yeah, anyways, we got some news here. We're not here to talk about country music. We're here to talk about,
surprisingly,
superhero movies and news and all sorts of stuff. And first thing we're going to drop off, first movie we're going to talk about post Comic Con is Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was some surprising news. But we got a mixed bag here. The actress Judy Greer, who you may know from Arrested Development and the voice of Carol, Cheryl, and Archer, will be returning as ex-wife Maggie in the upcoming Ant-Man movie. So I kind of assumed a lot of these characters would return. It's about Scott Lang's family, and since he's separated from his wife, they have a daughter together. It'd probably be in there.
Yeah, and I would say probably, if you had to go back and dissect the Ant-Man movie, probably one of the weaker points probably was the family angle. He was being motivated by trying to be a good dad, but he never really seemed like he was kind of like a jerk. It seemed like he was trying to be there, but not really. He was just kind of busy with other things, just trying to get a job and keep his ice cream job. So maybe they'll make that a little bit more front and center.
Was it Baskin Robbins that he was trying to work for? And
Baskin
Robbins think so. Always finds out.
Yeah.
So that's going on. So that's fine with me. Ant-Man and the Wasp is shaping up. They got Michelle Pfeiffer. They've got Lawrence Fishburne. I think the first one was a safe entry into the franchise and character, and after his success again in Civil War, I think we're going to see a lot out of Ant-Man. I think it's going to be good stuff. Let him go a little weird with it.
Yeah, I want me some Giant Man. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Some more Giant Man. And we might get some Giant Man in the upcoming Avengers movie. So we're going to talk not about Avengers 3, but Avengers 4.
Whoa.
The Untitled Avengers movie.
Avengers 4. Chris, I don't even know when that comes out. I'm going to have to scroll through our upcoming releases here. And what is that, 2019?
Yes, 2019. I believe it's May 3rd, May 4th, 2019, maybe May 5th.
You're right. Untitled Avengers, May 3rd.
There we go. Because I know they're 1 year apart between Avengers 3 and 4. So first off, they're starting filming on this movie right away. They're filming them back to back, but not at the same time. Mm-hmm. And they're starting with just some Japan casting call for these tall, slender people in suits, but they're going to have prosthetics on their faces.
Oh, all right.
So that may not mean anything, but if aliens are coming to Earth in the shape of Thanos and his order, I'm thinking these are actually going to be Skrulls. Maybe since we will have Captain Marvel first, this one they could lead in. Hey, there are some Skrulls on Earth. We may need their help actually to defeat Thanos here.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens post-Avengers 4. Obviously, there's so many reasons why, because it's going to shape the whole way we go forward, because, correct me if I'm wrong, the next movie after Avengers 4 is Homecoming 2, right?
As far as we know, yes. I believe,
yeah.
I don't know if there's much of there might be a release date on it, but it's pretty much confirmed that's going to be the next one.
Yeah, so it's like, what's going to be the big bad coming up in the future? They've been leaning really heavily on the cinematic stuff, so is it just like they're going to keep sending baddies from space to hit Earth, or maybe are they going to maybe tap into another dimension? Like, where does the next big bad guy come from? Does he start from Earth and build his way up to be some sort of big presence? It's just like once you've expanded this universe so big, you start wondering, like you've mentioned before in previous episodes, is one of those Infinity Gems going to turn back the clock and kind of reset everything back to normal? I mean, that is kind of hard to believe, with all of the work and groundwork they've put into this series, but I mean, happens in comic books all the freaking time, so it's not too much of a stretch to, imagine on the big screen. I mean, if you really want to play in the comic book movie realm, you got to reset all that stuff some point, right?
Exactly. And my biggest concern with Avengers 4 was, after Comic-Con threw that hella surprise on us that there will be Skrulls in Captain Marvel, and it will focus on the Kree Skrull War. I thought, hopefully, a lot of people were saying Avengers 4 might be the secret invasion story. And I'm like, whoa, hold up, that's way too soon. So that kind of coincides with our next, big news here. That this is hot off the press. By that press, I mean Instagram. Josh Brolin is going to return as Thanos in Avengers 4.
Well, to be honest, I never really thought differently. I know Marvel tried to kind of make that 180, and they said, hey, wait a minute. It's not Avengers Part 1 and Part 2 anymore. They're two totally separate movies. Don't think of them as two movies anymore. They're going to be their own unique thing. But my mind never really turned off the Part 1 and 2. If they were willing to officially say Part 1 and 2 at any point in time, it really makes me think that those stories are going to be connected. So I never thought for a second that Thanos was going to be defeated in the next Avengers movie.
Yeah, exactly, and I didn't either. But it's been 1 week of Comic-Con, like huge Comic-Con news. So I think that was like running through people's mind the past just week. Like it's not like a big long thing. So Josh Brolin kind of definitely bringing that back and bringing us back. I'm like, yeah, I'll be back as Thanos. Great, that's cool. My hope is after Avengers 4, it is the secret, like the next big Avengers movie is Secret Invasion. Like I think that's a very slow build up they could build up to, and I think it would be great because no one expected it. I expected Secret Wars, but that might be even farther down the road. But you know what? That's fine because Marvel has some good leads in there. But that brings us to our next bit of news. Is that Marvel Studio Senior Vice President Jeremy Latcham is leaving for 20th Century Fox.
Ooh, that's good news. I think that's good news.
That's good news. He's not actually going over there to handle comic book properties.
Oh,
he's creating his own studio there and like working on original projects.
Oh, all right.
He's been, I think he's worked his way up through Marvel with Kevin Feige all the way up to now, and kind of working in tandem. That's great. I mean, if you keep the original people there too long, you're gonna get stale. You're gonna get stagnant. You're gonna get movies that repeat themselves and don't really improve.
Yeah, and also I would imagine this Jeremy, what'd you say, Latcham? Latcham.
Yeah.
I think he's probably just getting his due. He seems like he's probably put in a lot of work working on properties that have made a lot of money. But like now he's probably has this dream where he's like, hey, I'm in Hollywood. I want to make original stuff. So Fox could use that. So that could be cool.
Yeah, exactly. And, a lot of places could probably blow this up and be like, oh, he's leaving for Fox. Fox is going to do... No, he's obviously said he's doing his own work, his own projects. So, like you said, he's deserved it. He worked it up there. So let him go and get some new people into the Marvel Studios and see what we get out of that. So, but he's obviously had his fingerprint on a lot of movies and probably has his finger on a lot of movies going forward that are already in production. So... that's cool. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'll start speculating when Kevin Feige finds a different job somewhere else.
yeah, exactly. And we're gonna switch gears and talk a little bit of DC news here. Kind of caught me off guard. Wonder Woman. Apparently, Warner Brothers is planning a big grassroots Oscar campaign to get Wonder Woman Oscar nominated.
All right.
and I think they got a little taste of it with Suicide Squad for best costume. But they're pushing for best director and best picture.
All right. Let's just settle down, Warner Brothers.
Yeah. So one decent movie does not mean you are Oscar worthy.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with Patty Jenkins or the Wonder Woman film in general. I think we've both said this on the show several times that we never expect these movies that we love so much. We talk about them every single week on the podcast. We've never have any delusions that any of them are going to show up as best picture or best director anytime soon, because that's not necessarily what I need from these movies or what I want from these movies. Now, if they want to maybe go for the special effects or the makeup or the costume, kind of what Suicide Squad did, I could see that, but I don't know, mate. I just don't think it has any chance of winning. Now, if they kind of want to use this as maybe a bit of a marketing gimmick to kind of just get it out there and keep it in the conversation longer, because maybe that's what Warner Brothers wants, that's great, but I don't think this is going to be possible. I don't remember if I said this during the Wonder Woman spoiler cast or not, but I didn't get to see that movie until Saturday, so I had 2 kind of full days of just media blitz hitting me, basically saying that this movie was just amazing, but I definitely think it was overhyped for sure. It was a great movie. I loved Wonder Woman. It had really awesome parts to it, but I don't think it's the best superhero movie ever made. It's really good. That I don't want to take anything away from it, but it's very overhyped, and this does not help the hype.
Yeah, Oscar worthy is not. I mean, if you compare it, if you put all 4 DC movies together in a room, yes, it's Oscar worthy. But when you compare it to all the whole of films and people out there making movies, this one's not going to change the landscape of anything. This is a blockbuster. This is to pad pockets and make money, not to be artistic and push the boundaries of film. So
yeah, and it did a lot of great things for Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot for being the first female-led superhero movie, just really knocking the box office.
The first good one. She was not the first one. I'm not going to give her that. So,
but first female director to kind of tackle one of these big box office superhero movies.
The Punisher Warzone was done by I think Alexi Alexander. So,
okay. Well, okay. If you want to stay accurate, okay.
I think it's appropriate to say they are not the first female director, and this is not the first female superhero, despite people saying that. No, it's the only one in recent memory.
Yeah, the first ones to hit it big. That's for sure. Yeah. So I think that's all great, but this isn't going to happen. Don't kid yourselves over there, people.
Yeah, just work on your next one and make it Oscar worthy. So go from there.
I would have had the same opinion if they said Civil War was pushing for an Oscar campaign. It has nothing to do with the content.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And superhero movies are made to break records and make money, and that's what they're doing right now. So I think keep them at that and leave them out of the Oscar fuzz.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Be a while. But, we can always look forward to Wonder Woman 2 maybe doing this. And Wonder Woman 2 now has a release date of December 13th, 2019.
Ooh, we're going to have a nice little holiday movie in our hands.
Yeah, it looks like DC is taking a lot of these winter things seriously. And, mixing up their release dates. Wonder Woman 2 was not on their release date schedule when they first announced it. So it will be taking place after possibly a November 1st DC movie, and then right before a February 14th Untitled DC movie. But this will still be before we even get Cyborg and Green Lantern. They're really working on that.
Yeah, and I think this is a good idea to start claiming December again, since Star Wars will officially be out of the way come the holiday season. We have the next Star Wars movie coming up in December, and then they're moving back to summer box office, to really just like rake in the cash before they close out this new trilogy. So it makes sense that Warner Brothers is going to start laying claim to December. They don't have to worry about that juggernaut.
No, definitely not. I think Aquaman's a December release as well, so they're gonna push it, and that's fine. I mean, as long as they have time to make it and make it right, I'm okay with that. So so we'll give them that Wonder Woman 2, December 13th, 2019. Put it on your calendars. As for female-led superhero movies, some weird news on Gotham City Sirens. Rumors are David Ayer is out, but now he's tweeting these cryptic images suggesting he's not. I don't know, man. Is he? Will he? Won't he? I don't think they didn't announce that at Comic-Con. They had nothing on it at Comic-Con. I think that's where this whole thing, he's not in the movie anymore, the movie's not working out, came from. So they didn't even announce that in like their upcoming release dates at Comic-Con.
Yeah, I feel like if superhero movies were kind of traded on the stock market and you owned a bunch of stock of DC right now, you're just kind of waiting to just like, do we buy or sell it? Do we buy it or do we sell it? I mean, Wonder Woman went really well, but then Justice League's coming out. Like, Justice League could be big or it could be really bad. So I feel like you just have all these people kind of holding on to these like Warner Brothers banknotes, and they're just like, what do we do with them? I don't know. And then like David Ayer is over there just like, I don't know what to do either. Maybe I will make the Suicide Squad movie. Maybe I won't. So I hope it turns out well. I like the idea. It sounds cool, but it's hard to say if David Ayer was the really big issue in that last Suicide Squad movie, or if it was the studio, or maybe a little bit of both. We'll find out, I guess. Yeah,
there's definitely no clue and no release date. I don't even think it's on our release date calendar even. So I think it's on tentative. But the thing is, another rumor that came out of this is Ayer and Snyder are to take a backseat on the DC expanded universe following their latest films. Snyder obviously has backed out because of personal reasons, and that's understandable. We respect that decision. But Ayer, I mean, Suicide Squad did win an Oscar, like we talked about, for costume and makeup, and it did make more money, I think, than Batman v Superman overall. So it's a little surprising, but maybe he's just not easy to work with. And if someone's not easy to work with, they're not playing ball, especially with DC, getting a home run with Wonder Woman, they might be looking to get some new people in there.
Yeah, well, just like you said earlier, where we like the idea of kind of Marvel getting some new people over there at the studio, I think Warner Brothers really needs that. I think David Goyer should move on to different projects. Goyer, the writer.
Oh, the writer.
Goyer.
Oh, okay. Too many Davids and yours over there.
Yeah, I think he needs to move on and start doing different things. Maybe write some original movies. Maybe back away from these comic book movies, because it's getting a little rough for you out there. You don't have Nolan propping your writing up anymore. So I wouldn't mind Warner Brothers getting a bit of a refresh. And I feel like we've hammered this point home a little bit too much, but like we said, like we still haven't seen that full-fledged Warner Brothers movie from that executive refresh like a year ago, because Wonder Woman was already in development when that was happening. Basically, Justice League could technically be under that envelope, but it's still the exact same team that made Batman Superman, except for Joss Whedon kind of coming in and kind of stitching it together at the last second. So it's not going to be really until Aquaman, I think, until we really see kind of what these new seats of power do for the movies. So I got these banknotes, Chris. I don't know what to do with them yet.
Hold. You got a year and a half to wait until Aquaman.
Yeah, got it. I think that's what they say with investments. You got to be patient.
Yeah, it's stock markets aren't a short game. It's a long game. Justice League is going to be a weird thing, because they did kind of have new direction, but then everything flipped on them with Whedon, and so I think you're right. It won't be a good indicator of that new regime there. So, but you know what? Well, we can wait. All we got's time and more superhero movies to watch. We are not running short on movies. We're not running even less short on TV shows. So we got that going for us. Another movie some people might be concerned about is the upcoming Han Solo movie.
Ooh, yes. This one has some stuff floating around it for sure.
So we got some, I think these are three good things to go here.
All right.
So in Louisville, where I work and live, there's a Comic-Con going on this weekend called Fandom Fest.
Cool.
Fandom? No, it's been a shit show.
No? Okay.
They were at the state convention center. The state convention said, well, we actually don't have a contract with you. So these people have been lying about this convention for all year.
Oh, man.
Weird Al was like the biggest name they draw. He backed out. All the voice actors of Beauty and the Beast backed out because they moved it to an abandoned Macy's.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The
Chris,
fire
that
marshal,
sounds awful.
They didn't clear it with the fire marshal, so it's been a huge shit show.
Oh, man.
Last year, Stan Lee was at it. Like, that's how big it was. Like, within a year, they went really downhill. But actor David Wilding was supposed to be there this weekend. David Wilding played the Vader in Rogue One. But he's reportedly on set filming a Star Wars movie. And the only movie I can think Star Wars is filming right now is definitely Rogue One. So, or not Rogue One. I'm sorry, Han Solo.
Yeah.
He's in Rogue One. So I don't think he's in a new Star Wars movie because there's no Darth Vader. But I think they might have him filming in Star Wars a little bit. Now, do I want Darth Vader in my Han Solo movie? I'm on the fence. But, I did enjoy the best part of Rogue One to me is his ending scene there when he cuts through all those rebels.
Yeah, so how is Rogue One holding up to you, Chris? I've been actually wanting to ask you this for a while, because I'm assuming you've seen it since it came out in theaters, right?
Nope.
Oh, well, I think that goes to tell what I was about to ask then.
I didn't buy the movie. It's the first Star Wars movie I didn't buy, actually. I own all the main films. To me, I think Rogue One is over. To me, Rogue One is overhyped compared to what people say. Yes, it's a good movie, but I just don't care for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, the hype kind of drains from it pretty quickly. You leave the theater super stoked because, like you said, that Darth Vader ending was amazing, and then how it kind of dovetails into A New Hope. The nostalgia is running high. You just saw Vader in a way you've never seen him before. Then once you leave the theater and you start kind of thinking about the story and like the overall themes of Rogue One, you're just kind of like, huh. All right, yeah, I guess, that was technically a Star Wars story, but I guess it would be kind of an interesting notion if these Star Wars story movies had one kind of common denominator, and that was Darth Vader popping up every once in a while wrecking shit.
yeah, I mean, I think, he's taking place in a world where Darth Vader is, a number one next to the Emperor, but a lot of people have probably forgotten the Emperor, is a Sith, or don't know, really. So the presence of Darth Vader actually maybe escalates it a little bit, but since we know he makes it to the next 4 movies, is it really adding any peril to the character? And that's why prequels bother me, because I'm like, we know kind of how this is going to turn out. Like
yeah, exactly.
He's not going to die here. But I mean, I guess it's fine with me. I mean, use Darth Vader sparingly, but if you're going to use him, at least make him menacing like he used to be. So. I don't know. I can go either way. I don't care for Rogue One, but I do like if I think about Rogue One, what I remember the most is that scene with Vader. So
just be careful not to choke on your aspirations over there.
Oh God. All right. Director Ron Howard also shared a message from the set this week saying he was happy after I think 30 years to film his friend Warwick Davis again direct him. So
that's cool.
Warwick Davis, they made a movie, I believe it's called Willow, in the late 80s. And Warwick Davis has been 2 Star Wars movies, the prequels, and then he was the original Wicket in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I like Warwick Davis. He has kind of this really short-lived show, I guess pun intended, called I think it might even just be called The Short Life or something. Life's Short.
The Little People Big Movie.
I don't know what it is. It's like a short running TV show made from Ricky Gervais, because he's friends with Ricky Gervais, and it's all about him being like a Hollywood agent, and he's kind of like riding off his fandom when he was in Willow back in the day, and he's always trying to get people to remember him. So if you can track down that show, it's pretty funny. It's probably streaming somewhere, but Warwick Davis, he's a fun guy to watch. He's got a good sense of humor. Yeah.
I mean, what I've seen him has been entertaining. And what other stuff, but I mean that's cool that he's back there. I mean, I'm sure he won't be an Ewok, he won't be reprising his little known role from the originals. So that's cool he's in there. And lastly, the composer John Powell has been confirmed to be the composer. He's worked on such movies as How to Train Your Dragon and the Bourne trilogies, I believe.
That's cool.
So I mean, I like How to Train Your Dragon. I know a lot of people like that movie. So I think that's a good thing.
It's a light news week when we put the composer news into our show notes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I couldn't pick a song. Like, the only song I know from the Bourne movies is that Moby song, and that's really about it. So, whatever.
I do have to say I am slightly worried more than usual about the Han Solo movie, just because I've seen a lot of people online with movie review channels or like Star Wars channels on YouTube. They're kind of like starting to pitch ideas of what they think is going to be in the Han Solo movie, or like, oh, if a money grubbing executive was making the Han Solo movie, what they would put in there. And everyone's like pitching these ideas that are probably unfortunately gonna happen, like, oh, well, the movie's gotta end with him winning the Millennium Falcon in a poker game. And basically they're saying everything you ever learned about Han Solo is all gonna be crammed into one movie. They're probably gonna show you how he got his vest. They're gonna show you how he got his blaster. They're gonna show you everything that happened in like 2 hours. So I hope that doesn't happen. It sounds like this movie has a chance of maybe not being subtle.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they're aware of that, and we don't want to do what essentially the end of Revenge of the Sith did, where you have to cram the next 30 years, where all these characters are in 30 years in the last 10 minutes of this movie. Hopefully they've learned a little bit about that. They seem to be smarter than the average bear, but
yeah, I'm curious what the over/under is for the Kessel Run in this movie. I feel like it's just
less than 12 parsecs at least.
I feel like it's gotta be in this movie, like, just because that's like the one thing people always talk about when it comes to Han Solo.
Well, that means
his crowning achievements.
But that means he'll have the ship before the end of it.
Possibly. There was one nerdy cut that someone did bring up, is he said the Millennium Falcon made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. He never said he did it. So maybe he was happy to receive the Millennium Falcon because he knew it was that fast. So the street cred could already come attached to the Falcon. We don't know yet. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out how he met Chewie.
Hey, Mike. You're a nerd.
What's up?
Calm down.
Yeah, I know. Well, we are doing a superhero
no, it's fine.
podcast.
But that's okay. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about Star Wars The Last Jedi, the next big Star Wars movie on our radar. And we've got a first look at a non-holographic Supreme Leader Snoke. Disney and Star Wars are taking these down left and right, but I was able to find a couple copies.
It's gross.
So we get to see Snoke, and he appears to be humanoid. And he's got a very long neck, slender shoulders, and he's apparently very, very, very old, several centuries old. And he's just like, did you use the phrase emaciated, maybe? Or somebody did. And I mean, this is what happens when you smoke too much, people.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin. There's no clue what species he is. People can't figure out what race he is other than humanoid. He doesn't look fully human simply because of his shoulders and such, but I don't know, Mike. I mean, what do you make out of it?
It's just it's very unsettling to see because we've only ever seen him in that hologram. I am still kind of crossing my fingers and hoping he's a giant, just because I think that's really unique and kind of clever. Even though we have this whole galaxy full of all these different types of aliens and stuff like that, I kind of like the idea that there's someone out there that could just be tall, and that kind of what makes him menacing and creepy looking. Obviously, he has been through some stuff. It looks like at some point in time he used to look somewhat normal. So I don't know if maybe he used to be like just a frontline warrior for maybe the rebellion, maybe the Empire, and just things went bad, and now that's kind of changed the way he looks at the world and at Jedi in general. But yeah, he is a little messed up, so I hope there is some kind of like fantasy element to him. I kind of don't want him just to be like normal and human. Yeah. So maybe they'll be like kind of an ancient race of humans that used to be really tall or something. I don't know. I just want him to be tall.
Well, if I was to guess anything, I mean, just a theory that maybe since he is a Sith, he's been dealing with Sith, knowledge and holocrons and information from the past, and like trying to maybe make himself more powerful or live longer. He's somehow malformed himself pretty badly, because he looks malformed. As I sent the picture from Deadpool, motherfucker, you are hard to look at. So. It's just weird and cool, and I'm glad they're not going with just a standard actor under a robe to be the villain, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like you're gonna remember this guy when he's on the screen. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
And also they're using prosthetics / CGI to make this work, so it's not just a full CGI guy like he was in the thing. So that's cool. There's some other images from The Last Jedi. The Praetorian Guards, which are, Snoke's guards, I think are the biggest thing here. We get to see them with different weapons, different, like, you know, they're actually not lightsabers. These are full-on bladed weapons. So,
yeah, it's kind of badass because I believe I've talked on the show before about how one of my most favorite Star Wars like toys or models that I've seen are kind of like the crossover between like Stormtrooper and like Samurai, and you kind of get that same feeling with these like official kind of Imperial Guards, if you will. I'll say Imperial Guards just because they're red and shiny, but they kind of got those like slatted arm.
Yeah, it's like an ancient like culture that's kind of bled through, and that might be like lend credence to this, you know, Snoke coming from an ancient culture, in doing that. So, it's just really cool to look at. And you know, someone was trying to say that they might be the Knights of Ren, but with Kylo having a lightsaber and they had lightsabers in the flashback, I think they would have lightsabers as well. So I don't think they're the Knights of Ren, but definitely cool. And then there's a bunch of other characters you can look at: Kylo, Phasma, Finn, Luke, and Rey in these. So as you can tell, you know, when they do the product shots and the whole I guess promotional materials here, they don't really make it. It's not a very clean set. Looks like on a lot of these. So definitely interesting to see some behind the scenes of that. I think friend of the show Quentin Parker would probably speak a lot to that. So. I think these are cool. I think they're cool to look at. So take a look at them in our show notes. The only trailer we got this week is from video game section. So we're going to have a couple video game sections here. The Lego Marvel Heroes 2 trailer has dropped and is introducing us to Kang the Conqueror as the villain.
Kang.
And he is voiced by Patrick Stewart. So he's gone from a shit job to a Marvel job. So. But he's
no longer the poop emoji.
But he's no stranger to comic books and superheroes, as he's Professor Xavier in, you know, almost all the movies he's in, other than James McAvoy. But I think this trailer was fun. It showed a lot of characters across a lot of different Marvel like properties and timelines and universes. So we got to see Miles Morales, Spider-Man 29, regular Spider-Man, the Wasp working with Groot and Rocket, stuff like that. So as you laughed at the name of the town that we're going to be in, Chronopolis is the hub city. So
it is kind of interesting. It brings up the point of who owns Kang the Conqueror. You know, obviously Lego doesn't have to worry about it because it's a video game property. But it does make you think, like, oh, if they're bringing this villain kind of to the forefront in a video game, it makes you think it could come to the big screen. You know, they are going to need a new baddie somewhere. So it looks like he was first appearing in Fantastic Four 19, but technically he didn't appear as Kang until the Avengers number 8. So that kind of looks like one of those split down the middle type of things. So it's going to be interesting to see if he shows up in the MCU or maybe in a rebooted Fantastic Four world, you know, maybe with a better Doctor Doom. Maybe.
I mean, if they, you know, focus on another Fantastic Four villain other than Doom, they could probably do some success. So, such as Kang. Kang was also, I think he was known as Iron Lad, and he's got a third version because he travels through time. But you know, Earth's Mighty, he had a whole season, or not a whole season, but like maybe half a season of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I believe. They took place in, if I remember properly. So
yeah,
he was really fun.
He was big. Yeah.
So we got that going, and then there's a new mobile RPG for Marvel they announced this week from a company called Aftershock. We don't know much on it. They just announced it this week, but Aftershock is actually owned by a company called Foxnet, who, surprise, is actually owned by 20th Century Fox. So Fox is playing nice with Marvel lately, at least in some aspects. So I don't know. I don't know what this means or could lead to, but I'm definitely interested in playing a Marvel game, maybe an RPG for my phone or tablet. So
cool, man.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Speaking of games, Halo, the games, one of my favorite game series. They announced a series was in development with Steven Spielberg, and they confirmed this week that the series is still in development with Showtime and Steven Spielberg. So
that'll be really interesting to see. Halo has a very well documented history out here in Hollywood. I read a really amazing article about it once, and I probably talked about it on the show, but really in depth of kind of how Hollywood courted kind of Bungie and Microsoft into like making this movie, and the differences between a tech company and Hollywood trying to make a movie together, and it was a mess. So I don't know if it's still going to be that way, but Halo kind of has shown that it can make series. I know they've done like live action miniseries and stuff. I think sometimes it's been released like on YouTube. Sometimes it was like maybe you had to pre-order the game, or sometimes it was only on Xbox Live. I don't really know where the stuff ever lived officially, but I've seen some of it and it was pretty interesting. But it always takes place like within like the timeline of the game. It's always supplemental stories, so it's never really telling you the origin of anything, and it's never really trying to simplify the story. So if Halo was turned into a series, I hope maybe they find a way to tell the story very cleanly, because, I mean, sometimes I can just go into a Halo wiki for hours and I come out more confused.
I think that's part of it is, if it's been working on for 4 years, it's obviously not something easily done, or they're not going to just throw out a confusing story for everybody. So, Showtime, I don't know if does Showtime have any good shows right now that I can think of.
I think that they could use a show like this. They need a big hitter. Their biggest hit for the longest time was Homeland and kind of Dexter. They kind of ran concurrently for a little while, but then Dexter died, thanks to the showrunner who did Iron Fist and soon to be Inhumans. And they also had Homeland, and I heard Homeland's I feel like that's probably running on Steam by now. That's an idea that was stretched way past its original book. So I would imagine Showtime would like a big series that they could kind of put up against HBO, since I think on Amazon and on Hulu now, you have the options to kind of bolt on Showtime or HBO. And I feel like if someone has to choose one or the other, they're probably bolting on HBO and not Showtime.
Excuse me. Especially with Game of Thrones, and I'm gonna have to get a drink, Mike. But Game of Thrones, I am.
Oh no, you're dying over there. All right, so I'm gonna vape over here for a second.
Go ahead.
Vape as in.
Oh god, you had me worried for a second. I'm gonna choke again.
Vapor.
But Game of Thrones, Westworld. I mean, HBO. They threw it onto my DirecTV Now for free for a year. So I definitely watch a lot more on there. But I mean, I think Showtime would be good. Steven Spielberg has Ready Player One. I think he's probably got a lot of experience with CGI now, finally, and a tech world. So maybe knock on wood, something good comes out of that. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, and of course, it'll be interesting to see how involved Spielberg is. I have a feeling he's probably just going to pull like a J.J. Abrams, where he'll like maybe direct the first episode and he'll just be an executive producer for the rest of the series and not really have much else to do. But still, it's better than nothing.
And that's going to tie us into our next topic. And you're like, how can Halo tie into the next topic? The voice actor of the Arbor, Keith David, has been cast as the villain in the new Warriors series coming up here. The villain is Ernest Vigman, a caustic municipal employee who butts up against the hopeful energy of the new Warriors. This character is not from the comic books, at least not off from the name. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how he's in there.
Yeah, I was a little more excited, I think, than most to see this news, just because I've been rewatching Dan Harmon's Community over the last couple weeks, and I'm finally on like the last season, which was on Yahoo Screen, which doesn't exist anymore, but you can still go watch the season on Hulu. And he is added to the cast as a regular, and he makes a really funny joke in the series where he's like, "I'm no one's fourth Ghostbuster," because he was a Ghostbuster. So
wait, he was a Ghostbuster?
He's funny.
How's he a
so
Ghostbuster?
Hopefully he'll. He was a Ghostbuster
movies?
at one point in time. I think maybe it was.
I was going to say, like, I was like,
something.
Maybe it's a play because he wasn't in the movie. So
he does have a ghost busting past. In some way.
I know he does so much voice work. Like he's been in Justice League and you name it, he's been in it pretty much. You will know his voice when you hear it. Like it's really crazy.
Oh yeah, it's very soothing, if you will. It's good.
Yeah, I think he's a spectacular Spider-Man. A show we're actually going to talk about later, Rick and Morty. He was in, so we'll definitely talk about that here in a little bit. But so that's cool for him. We'll take it. The Runaways, another TV show. Yes, there are New Warriors and the Runaways. Mike, do you know the difference between the two? If I said, hey, what are the New Warriors and who are the Runaways? I mean, do you know? Like, literally, if someone says, hey, are you watching the Runaways or are you watching the New Warriors, could you tell them apart?
Yeah, I think I could probably
tell them apart. New Warriors is Squirrel Girl show. Runaways is the, like the OC for Freeform. Or I guess Hulu's Runaways. So apparently, according to Jeff Loeb, the head of the Marvel TV, the Runaways is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which we assume all their shows are. But he did specifically mentioned the Netflix shows, so I don't think we'll see any direct crossovers, but at least maybe more references to the ground level heroes than the movies will make. So.
Yeah, and also I believe New Warriors is probably going to have a much lighter tone than I think the Runaways.
Exactly, and they did say there's no direct connection that we can make right now. Like, oh, the Runaways is connected because of this. I think Nico Minoru, her mom was in Doctor Strange. I don't know if they'll make note of that, but if they need to do it, they'll do it. But I think the important thing is to make a good show first before they try to connect it. So we got that going for the Runaways. Another possible TV show secretly in the works, Mike, might be the Miss Marvel TV show. So we've been talking for the past couple of years about a show written by John Ridley, who's known for, I believe, 12 Years a Slave, and the TV show American Crime. And apparently, American Crime has been canceled on TV shows. So once it ends, John Ridley is expected to announce that he's been working on this Miss Marvel and will be the showrunner of this show itself. So now, although this is being set in production by ABC, they have been shopping it around to other distributors. So maybe it might get a home on Netflix or Hulu or any other possible channel that they could put it in.
Now, I think the big question is, which Miss Marvel are we getting here? Because American Crime, we're getting kind of this darker sense from John Ridley. It's hard for me to imagine.
Kamala Khan is the one we're talking about.
Kamala Khan.
Simply because I think you're focused on the dark side, but a lot of 12 Years a Slave and American Crime have to deal with racial relations in America, and Kamala Khan is very much.
Oh yeah. I guess I could see that connection. I think
she's a Muslim American living in the Detroit area, and it's I think that's where they're going to focus on probably on this one.
Yeah, I guess throwing a blonde into a leotard with big boobs and a lightning bolt on it doesn't exactly jive with that either. So I guess the newer version.
Yeah, and she's very popular right now in the books and so on and so forth.
Yes,
but apparently, we've heard about this for several years, but there have been rewrites and delays due to the Captain Marvel film, not really knowing what direction it was going to go in, because Miss Marvel is inspired by Captain Marvel, and that's where she kind of takes her name from. So now we know Captain Marvel set in the 90s, and this can be finally set in stone where this is going to be. I believe we're going to get a lot more information out of this production sooner than later.
Yeah, and I'm curious where this lives. There's so many weird angles you can look at it, because Miss Marvel kind of has a unique kind of almost fantastical power where she stretches and changes shape. I would think something like that would need a bigger budget, so then you start to think maybe more prestigious like Netflix, HBO, maybe possibly Hulu. It's hard to imagine this on ABC Freeform, so I'm kind of wondering how they pull that off.
Around a little bit, like, hey, look, we're fronting a lot of the upfront cash. Who wants to help us make this show a reality and get a hit out of it? So I don't know where to live. If I had to pick somewhere, I might put it in New Warriors territory. So maybe I forget where New Warriors is going to live. I think that's Freeform. But that's also where Cloak and Dagger live. I guess it's kind of like the teen area, and she's a teen character. So I could definitely see it on Freeform more than anything. But as you said, it might need more than a Freeform budget to make a lot of that work. Plus, she's an Inhuman, so they'll have to have a S.H.I.E.L.D. connection in there somewhere.
Yeah, Chris, this is so confusing. There's so much.
I know,
going
right?
on
That's
in
why I
that
said
TV
movies are
world.
easy now. TV shows, I don't even know what's happening. Speaking of TV shows we don't know what's happening with is Watchmen, the HBO TV series they're working on. Apparently, the HBO series will not be a literal translation of the series. I believe there are 12, maybe 13 books of Watchmen, and they were like, we're going to take each episode. Everyone was like, oh, they're going to make one episode per book, and that's it. Well, I don't think that's how it's going to work. I think they're going to add extra stuff and maybe at least get 2 seasons. Everyone wants 2 seasons of something.
Yeah, usually HBO, if they only want to do like one run, they're kind of specifically say, oh, this is a mini series or something like that. But yeah, if you got something like Watchmen, I think you kind of, not necessarily stretch it out, but give yourself a little bit more time.
They can also update it a little bit, and each book can be longer than an hour for sure. So they could double down and get you like 2 seasons of like double dipping episodes there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the movie doesn't give you the original comic book ending, but I mean, you know, it was when Zack Snyder used to be pretty decent at making superhero movies, so that's kind of one Zack Snyder thing that I do like from the past. So you always got that movie, so, you know, if you want to draw from, so it's okay if the series is different.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not too precious on Watchmen. We have a movie version that stands up fairly well by itself, and if they want to do a TV route, much like Fargo, Westworld, other shows that are, you know, evolving a little bit, going beyond their original mediums, I think is going to be great, and we're gonna see good stuff from that. And lastly, TV shows. Keith David was on Rick and Morty, like I said earlier. He was the president in the Get Swifty episode. Gotta get swifty. Season 3 starts tonight. Technically, we had an April Fool's, you know, episode 1, but the series is back on premiering tonight. Rick and Morty. I'm a big fan, Mike. I believe you're a big fan as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think this will break the internet more than Game of Thrones will tonight. If I had to choose a show that more people will watch, I think more people are down with Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I got a busy night tonight for sure. It's going to be Game of Thrones, then Rick and Morty. I'm actually really excited because I had enough self-control to avoid the Rick and Morty season 3 trailer. So the only thing I know about Rick and Morty so far is the premiere that happened back in April, and then also I know I am familiar with this whole Pickle Rick situation because they officially released some of the storyboards for that like last year, and everyone was like, "Oh, is he a pickle? Is he a cucumber? Like, what is Rick running around as?" And someone's like, "Oh, he's a pickle." So I'm kind of familiar with what's going on there, but I guess that probably popped up in the trailer. So I'm excited to dive in fresh.
I haven't watched the new trailers. I saw the one that premiered with the April Fool's one, so that's where I'm quoting it from. So okay. I'm behind a little bit on the trailer as well. I have no context for any of this, so. Definitely looking forward to that tonight and see what we can get out of it.
Yeah, go binge Rick and Morty. There's a good chance that you could go watch those because each season's like 13 episodes. So yeah, you might be right. So it's either 10 or 13. So what you got roughly maybe like 20 episodes.
It's
split
20,
that
22 minutes.
You know, less than half because so you're looking at like what 8 hours. Look, yeah, you can go watch this all in 8 hours. You got time, people.
Don't do that tonight, though. Like take your time, absorb it in. And as cliche as it sounds, it will get to you. It won't grow on you, but you'll get it. Not after the first episode, but after like 2 or 3. Like you'll get it. My favorite is still a Total Recall from season 2. So that's a good one. So if you're a big Rick and Morty fan, you already know. But if not, you know. Go catch up on it and watch it, and you've got a recommendation from us to watch something. So there you go. That's our news for the week, Mike. We made it. I'm gonna take a look here about see if we missed any news. Did we miss anything? Anything happened since we did this? Because
yeah, you were just like, oh my god, the week after Comic-Con, are we gonna have anything to talk about this week? We found a way. Hopefully, we were entertaining in some way to you people out there. Hopefully we'll get some trailers dropping soon. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe we'll get a new Black Panther trailer sooner than later so we can talk about that. Maybe we'll get some footage, get some screngshots. Something's got to be filming out there. Someone's got a camera somewhere with some good stuff on it.
I definitely got to give a shout out to the people who did reach out to me and ask for the footage. A lot of people at the comic store didn't have it, so I was able to share the footage with them there.
You got so much nerd street cred.
I've got good quality copies. I can't send it via Twitter. I lied. You can only send a certain length of video via Twitter messages, so I couldn't do that. But I do have ways to send it. So if you still want to reach out to me via Twitter, that's cool. Big shout out to listener Kristen for reaching out to me on Twitter and asking to watch the footage. I'm like, great, here it is. So I'm glad everyone gets to see and get hyped because it is the most hype footage we've seen in a while. So, in the meantime, Mike, if people want to see what you're up to and maybe your Infinity War footage, you don't have any, but whatever. If people want to know what you're up to, where can they find it?
Yeah, I don't have any leaks for you people out there, but you can always follow me at Mike Royer Design on Twitter and Instagram, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you and want to harass you for footage,
you can catch up. You can also mustard me on Twitter at Valdan, Valdan. I got to laugh out of Mike.
Oh, man.
That was a slow one, but it came around.
Well, at first I was just like, how do you mustard somebody? And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
because he said ketchup.
It's all right. So you can find me on Twitter at Valdan, Valdan. You can check me out on Comic UI, listen to my other show, Filmside Chats, and find my videos on the Destination Nation, DNN, on YouTube and their Facebook page. A little bit everywhere. So, but that, this may be someone's first episode, and they're coming in on probably not our strongest episode, definitely on Newswise, Mike. But if people want to hear more about what we do and stuff, shows we've done, where can they find us at?
Well, if you want to catch more of our ranting and ravings, you can always find us at superheroslate.com. That is where you're going to find every place we host this show, and also to get our awesome show notes. So if you want to check out that Lego trailer, if you want to see that weird image of Snoke, if you're not watching us on YouTube, you can get that at superheroslate.com. And you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Tumblr. You can subscribe and get us right in your email inbox every week, and you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to pick up a Superhero Slate shirt, you can head to superheroslate.com/store, and you can get some cool shirts and mugs and mouse pads if people still use mouse pads anymore. I don't know. I think computer mouses are like so advanced now. I don't even know if you need mouse pads anymore. I don't know. But that's where you can get that. If you want to leave us a review wherever you're listening to the show, that's super helpful. We really, really like that. So we'd love some more of that stuff. That's good. And if you want to be a super fan with the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, whether it's a light news week or not.
That's
we'll
right.
fill that hour somehow.
We've got banter that we can do, and bad jokes we can definitely tell. So
I'll just have to keep going to country music concerts.
If you're willing to do that for the show, Mike, we might need to start a different show. So, but yeah, thanks for listening this week, guys, on a light week, and hopefully we come back next week a little stronger and start I guess August off on a good note. So.
No, I won't yield. This was our strongest
well, there we
episode
go.
ever,
You heard it right here. Strongest episode to date. All right. Well, I guess we'll catch you guys next week then.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Gotta get that bush.
No, not even.